Imagine. Is Mike ready to go?
He is ready to go, sir.
Has the mic been tested? Did he pay his quarter for?
Yeah, we dropped 2 quarters in with inflation. That's how it
there
works.
There he goes, ladies and gentlemen. The dapper and well-traveled former U.S. attorney and also the Mississippi GOP chairman. You've been busy lately, haven't you?
I have, Paul, but it's been great. It's been great.
Let me get this one story in because I billboarded it on the social media. So, a Mississippi attorney was arrested yesterday, August the 8th, for allegedly trying to introduce contraband into a correctional facility. In the headline should be, "What the hell were you thinking?" But that's another story. Hinds County Sheriff Tyree Jones announced that Daniel Sidney Dale, I don't think they teach this in law school, but was charged with 2 counts of conspiracy, 3 counts of introduction of a contraband to a correctional facility. The sheriff said Daniel Sidney Dale was posing as legal counsel for some Hinds County detainees who was allegedly smuggling cell phones and other contraband during visitations. During the visitation on Thursday, Jones said Dale was found to be in possession of several items in contraband, cell phones, detained, questioned, later charged. Attorney Dale is a trusted position responsible for constitutional rights of arrested suspects, jeopardize the safety and integrity of the Hinds County detention facilities and the public. The investigation is ongoing. And by the way, the photo used that we have on our SuperTalk website, I'm not sure if that's, I'm almost sure that is not the regular photo he uses for his law firm's public marketing. I think he probably used something else, but.
Yeah, why couldn't that have been Arkansas or Alabama? I hate it. It was our state. I must have missed that class in law school. Pretty crazy.
I don't think he's going to be at the next convention.
No, I don't think so.
Oh, all right. Let's get down to the nitty-gritty. I did allude to the fact that you've been out and around. And how do we look ground game in the state of Mississippi?
We're fired up, I tell you. Coming off of the national convention and the folks around the country fired up, getting out in the communities around Mississippi. I was in Lee County Tuesday night. I was in Calhoun County last night. I mean, folks are fired up to get Donald Trump back in the White House. So I'm excited. I mean, I know all the media is giving all the attention to Harris and now Walz. But as President Trump has said, that is a honeymoon period. Of course, they're going to give that type of media coverage to the Democrats. Yeah. But I can tell you, just seeing the people on the ground. Look, in Calhoun County last night, we had 125 to 150 people for a dinner. I mean, that's incredible.
That is good.
And so if we replicate that throughout the country, we're going to take back the White House come November.
Somebody mentioned it during the press conference yesterday, and you just blow your mind the stupidity of some of the people in the media. Absolutely, it blows your mind. You wonder, and here's what I always go back. I go back to the people who hired them, and stand by their stupidity, and apparently don't call them back in and say, look, you got to do more research. You better do your show prep because you're making some stupid mistakes on the air, and it reflects on all of us. But they don't do that.
No.
Their stupidity, if anything else, gets them a higher salary.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I think it's more ambition. I think they want to ask the bombastic question that gets them more play, more publicity, more clickbait. And it's not really about pursuing the truth. It's not about pursuing a story anymore as much as it's about getting recognition.
Here's one with a guy who's waiting in the wings, and I think he is hoping that Donald Trump wins, and that's Jim Acosta, because he made his fame as an antagonist then. But
well, here is Tim Walz, who enlisted.
He's interviewing this woman. And I'm being gracious to us because I don't even know her name and I didn't look it up.
Well, here is Tim Walz, who enlisted when he was 17 years old. He served in the National Guard for 24 years. And I'm not aware of any military service that J.D. Vance has ever served. So let's just make the comparison there. And what happened in the tragedy of the killing of George Floyd and then the unrest. Yeah, okay, pardon me for that.
I feel bad for my Marine friends out there. I think that is still the military. I think the Marines are kind of a big deal in the military. I don't know.
And then, well, let me put it this way. There is a uniqueness about her because she's probably the only one in media that didn't know he was in the Marines. And she's probably not even watching her own network.
Yeah. So that's embarrassing.
It is absolutely embarrassing.
But again, it's the Democratic talking points the media has. Rather than going out and doing their own research, they would rather just go in there and repeat the talking points.
Mike, I look for little bits and pieces for encouragement for my own self and to share it over the air. And when we talk about what's going on, not in Mississippi ground game, but specifically and mostly in these key states, the state of Michigan, Pennsylvania, Ohio, places like that. Yeah, there was this one story here, the GOP ground game. This comes from the Republican Party. Hundreds of paid staff across battleground states, currently hiring another wave of between 100 and 300. Trump GOP offices opened across battleground states, 12,000. Trump Force 47 captains trained across battleground states and will add another 2,000 per week between now and E-Day, Election Day. On top of our official efforts, word on the street is various outside groups have at least 1,000 plus combined paid canvassers in the field right now in those battleground states, with likely over 2,500 by the time the voting polls open. And at the end of 2020, the Pennsylvania Democrats had 685,000 more registered voters than Republicans. That's been cut almost in half already as of today. At the end of 2020 in Arizona, the GOP had 130,000 more registered voters than Democrats. So on the ground game, Whatley and Trump are getting the job done.
Absolutely.
Hopefully that will make a difference.
It is. And if you look at the 2016 Trump campaign, the 2020 Trump campaign, neither one of those campaigns compare to this 2024 campaign. Yep. This campaign is focused on the battleground states, which is where they should be. And as you said, they're using technology, the Trump 47. I mean, the things that they are putting out there, the things they are doing in terms of, this thing called swamp the vote, where no longer are we going to complain about election laws that are on the books. We are going to maximize and use every election law to our benefit as Republicans, just as the Democrats have done, except we are not going to violate those laws. We are not going to break those laws. And we're also going to do election integrity. I mean, for too long, we have sat back and complained about election fraud. Finally, the RNC and the Republicans around the country are pulling together their resources and their attorneys to put them in the field to make sure that when people vote, their vote is counted, and the Democrats quit breaking the law when it comes to election law.
Well, isn't the 800-pound gorilla in the room with the accent the illegals?
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, how do we stop that?
Well, I think again, making sure that those who are voting are allowed to vote, and that's where the election integrity comes in. But you have, like Kamala Harris has advocated for this. You have Tim Walz, when he was governor of Minnesota, allowing illegal aliens to get driver's license, to get health care, to get education.
Yes.
I mean, the ultimate end goal for the Democrats is to ensure that those who are not citizens in this country vote, because they think if they give all these government benefits to them, they are going to vote Democrat.
And it's made a lot of the people in those cities absolutely, positively angry.
He's not going to do anything. He talks about this wall. I always say, let me know how high it is. If it's 25 feet, then I'll invest in the 30-foot ladder factory.
Here's a guy who's an enemy to what is making you hurt, and he's asking for your vote. Think about that, folks.
That's right.
Back with more coming up. From the great city of Philadelphia, Mississippi, I'm ready for the museum to open.
He sounds better every time I hear him.
I'm telling you, man, that's
great.
a pretty good song.
That is a good song.
I had a trivia question for you. Hang on here.
I can never properly prepare for your radio show, Paul.
Nobody. I can't even do it because listen. Here's a little insight.
Floats last time. We do. It's never a dull moment.
I have all of this stuff planned, and it never happens the way I planned it. Here's a strange factoid trivia question. Can you tell me who said this just 5 years ago? We're talking about elections, right?
Okay.
Paper ballots are the smartest, safest ways to ensure your vote. To ensure that it's secure against attacks by foreign actors. Russia can't hack a piece of paper like they can a computer. We introduced the Secure Elections Act to ensure our elections are safeguarded. We got to be ready. Who said that?
Senator James Langford. I don't know. Who?
Kamala Harris.
Oh, God.
I swear to you.
What a difference 5 years makes, right?
Oh, it does. And then you have to ask the question, why? And this is going to be a little bit disturbing for both sides. It's disturbing for us if she doesn't show any other side but the moniker that she's acquired, which is the most liberal ever in the Senate. Or if she turns and becomes that prosecutor that locks up a lot of black folks, they're a little bit concerned with that. So when you're wishy-washy now, that's got to put a little doubt in your mind.
Well,
of everybody.
What I keep telling everyone is if we as Republicans, if President Trump and J.D. Vance focus on three things, we will win, hands down. We have to focus on competence, we have to focus on policy, and we have to focus on the results. And she may say stuff, but when you look at those three things, her competency, as you said, most liberal senator, that's pretty hard to do when you think about Bernie Sanders, Elizabeth Warren, and the other liberals in the United States Senate.
Yes.
She was the most liberal senator in the nation. And the competence, the word salad, I mean, every time the woman speaks, I mean, this is not who we want to be commander-in-chief of this country when she can't piece together a sentence without a teleprompter.
There were a lot of people, myself included, saying, you can't be this dumb and get to where you are. But she keeps proving us wrong. and then you think, okay, is she just trying to hold her powder dry until this moment happens because she knows it? As a matter of fact, I haven't checked the tote board this morning, but the odds of Biden stepping down by the end of September, there's a lot of people who think by the end of September he'll step down to give Kamala another honeymoon going to the election day on November 5th. Discussions are already underway in the White House, is what one of the bloggers said. So
well,
your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think the most important thing in that consideration is what does Nancy Pelosi and Barack Obama think? Because they're the ones that are controlling the strings. And I would throw Hillary in there, of course, too.
Well,
I mean, the ones behind the curtain. You know, for the last 3.5 years, Biden has not run this country. And now that we see he has stepped aside, we see the pressure that was put on. I don't know if you saw the interview of Nancy Pelosi where the reporter really pushed her on the 25th Amendment being invoked and her part in that, her leadership in that. And her response was, no, not that she didn't do it. Her response was, well, I think Biden should be put on Mount Rushmore.
Yes.
As one of the greatest presidents of all time.
She will come after you like she goes after unborn babies. Nobody needs to have a heartbeat after Nancy Pelosi is through with you.
Right.
And she's been in power for a long, long time now. As far as searching for some modicum of brain activity in this woman.
You know, the one thing about all of us is we like hard work. Hard work is good work. Hard work is good work. The thing that we like about hard work is we have fun doing hard work.
If we have to put up that for 4 years, the government's going to have to give us some therapy, some kind of money for therapy. I hope we increase funding for English and education if we have to put up with that for 4 years. Well, I mean, it's not only that. I mean, she doesn't even hide herself when she gets nervous. She says things like this. I got a couple of other cuts. Do you realize, and there's verifiable information now and pictures to show she's AI and photoshopping a lot of these crowds, but every single speech is the same thing. Whomever is behind her, they have her so scripted. They are telling her, much like Joe Biden, just don't say anything else but what we write for you. Just shut up.
When all else fails, just remember there's this little piece of advice I will give you, which I give myself.
Sure.
When all else fails, just be lovely. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Can you imagine her as president of the United States sitting down with Vladimir Putin?
Yes.
Or China's premier and trying to negotiate anything? I mean, we have already lost all respect of other countries throughout the world No countries fear us anymore because of this administration, the Biden-Harris administration. And putting her in charge is only going to make that worse.
I think the people who are going to suffer the most are her voting base, first of all, because low income, if you like what you got and you want to supersize that, then vote for this woman. I still see a lot of social media, and again, I know you can't rule what's on social media by what is happening in the real world, but I still see a lot of African American women posting things that they're not buying this. We've had it. Yeah. This is it. We're not going to buy it anymore.
And as a woman, there's a balance to be struck between being tough.
Uh-oh.
And as a woman.
What did you say there?
Hang on. I was trying. There is a point on my illustrious speakers here. I don't want to break them with a cackle. I have a cackle monitor.
And as a woman, there's a balance to be struck between being tough and being a bitch.
Wow.
Turn that off.
Wow.
Well, again, the Democrats' focus is on gender and identity. It's all about gender identity. It's all about saying word salad. It's not about the competence, the policy, and the results. And again, if you compare what the Democrats have done to run our country into the ground in the last 3.5 years with what President Trump did. I mean, I tell everybody this. Everywhere I go, I say if President Trump would begin and end every speech he gives with, "Are you better off today than you were when I was president?" And if Democrats are honest, they cannot answer that they are.
Yeah.
Period.
Everybody likes to critique his speeches, and I think there's room to critique. He always manages to come out of them. I always want to just yell at him, use the private sector experience more.
Right.
Because I think that's what people in the audience draw some type of references between the success he had
absolutely
in the first 4 years because of his private sector background.
Absolutely.
Delineated between that and a career politician.
Imagine how much all of our government, whether it's federal government, state government, local government, would benefit from more businessmen and businesswomen getting involved and running a government like
but
this.
But who in the world is going to attempt that in the future? There is not another person, I believe, on planet Earth that's in the private sector that would undertake this. Well, understanding what he's got to go through, has gone through.
But also look at what he did yesterday. He held a press conference for over an hour with unscripted, with any questions any reporter wanted to ask, and she's been a no-show for almost 3 weeks now. Will not speak to a reporter without someone guarding her, without talking points, without something that she can read or reference, and not doing it openly and honestly.
Well, they're keeping her on script, and I don't think this is going to change at all, but it's something I think we're going to hear from now on.
If you know, before I was elected vice president.
By the way, this is just two of the places in the states of Michigan and in the states in Wisconsin. So this is Wisconsin and Michigan.
If you know, before I was elected vice president, many of you know then,
before I was elected vice president, as many of you know, before I was elected vice president, as many of you know, before I was elected vice president,
as many of you know, before I was elected
as vice president,
or elected a United States senator,
I was an elected attorney general, and before I was elected,
I had to speed it up a little bit because it's just.
I was an elected attorney general.
Wait, Paul. When was she elected vice president? I mean, Biden was elected president.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the problem with her. She's never been elected anything on the national stage.
Back in Michigan. Listen, let me tell you, I am clear. The path to the White House runs right through this state. And listen, I am clear. The path to the White House runs right through this state. I took on perpetrators of all kinds.
You know what else was bad?
Not of all kinds.
She had the same dress on. I'm kidding. She had the same dress on. She didn't even change dresses. We got more coming up. Hang on. I want to ask you about Act Blue because it's something that's very, very concerning. And are you up to date on that one? Can you explain exactly what they're doing?
No, tell me what they're doing. I know about them, yeah.
Act Blue is apparently, I have one story here. Let me, I'll see if I can find it here. It's a story of, you caught me off guard now. So.
Finally, after 10 years, finally, Paul.
Hang on. I'll recover. In the meantime, I want to play from a Dr. Interracial post. This guy on Tim Walz. There are so many of them out there, but I thought this one kind of is representative of what the people in Minnesota think about this guy. And it's not all kumbaya.
Hello, everybody. Let me tell you about Governor Tim Walz of Minnesota. He's bad as they come. Far super left. He allowed the city of St. Paul and Minneapolis to burn down to the ground on the George Floyd lie. They destroyed St. Paul. They destroyed my community. They destroyed Minneapolis. Many lives was lost. Many minority businesses destroyed. It was a coordinated effort how they had everything going. They had Black Lives Matter there. They had Antifa there. They allowed them to run the city free range. They told the police officers to stand down. Down the street, me and other residents was taking down tag numbers. We handed over to the St. Paul Police Department. Nothing never came about it. I had to sit out on my front porch to protect our property because that governor would not do his damn job. And she picked him as vice president. Let me tell you another hitch on that. Kamala Harris even sponsored the Freedom Fund to bail them out of jail once they got captured. They working together to destroy America. Do not let them fool you. They do not care about you or our American way of life or our freedom. Thank you.
Now, the weird thing about this is the family, the entire family are nuts. The First Lady said she left the window open during the 2020 riots, the BLM riots. And if you haven't heard this, to smell the burning tires and soak in the moment.
That's incredible.
Her daughter was also caught leaking National Guard plans to rioters so they could avoid arrest. That whole family is sick.
Yeah,
absolutely sick.
When that went down, I was United States Attorney here in Mississippi, and I knew the United States Attorney in Minnesota, and we had conference calls often with the riots going around the country. And when people were begging Governor Walz to call out the National Guard, in which he served, he refused. He refused. Yeah. He allowed over 1,500 businesses and homes to simply burn down to the ground, including a police station precinct. Over $500 billion in damage in the city of Minneapolis.
And in some of those poor neighborhoods where there were blacks who had jobs and there were black business people, men and women, they haven't been able to rebuild.
And he described that as exciting. Yes. Exciting. Yeah. Because they were looking for fundamental change, and he has maintained to this day that he is proud of that response. And we need to remind people that when that man faced adversity, this is what he did. He allowed people's homes and businesses to burn to the ground and people's lives to be put in jeopardy.
He couldn't make a decision. He couldn't say, okay, you got to pack your bags and go to a war zone because that's part of your responsibility. What he did was something expedient, and he made the decision political. How many people am I going to make mad if I decide to take action and send the National Guard? The people I'm going to make mad are in my campaign contribution column.
That's right. And this is a man who served for 24 years in the National Guard. He knew the capacity and the capabilities of the National Guard. Why he would not do that to save people's lives and to save people's homes and businesses, no one knows.
Before I get to the Act Blue, I did find it, by the way. The other one I wanted to mention is more unforgivable than that. Because of his stance in saying a woman, if she wants to, can do anything she wants with her body. Of course, they don't say she can't go out there and prostitute. And they say she can't put a needle in her arm. It's her arm. Why the hell can't she?
Right.
She can't drive drunk. There's a lot of things women can't do that men can't do, et cetera, et cetera. But they can terminate a living, breathing human being, well, living and almost breathing, but in this particular case, breathing, because of his pushing this and getting this bill passed, saying that up to the moment of delivery, she can execute her baby.
Yeah.
8 babies were born from botched. 8 babies were born. We mentioned this yesterday with Lars Larson. 8 babies were born accidentally after the coal rod has been pulled in. Some of these babies pulled out hurting, screaming. They just left them there. 8 babies born from botched abortions that ultimately died because they were just left there to die.
Yeah, it's hard.
How do you forgive that?
It's hard to imagine that can happen in the United States of America, but even worse, that now the vice presidential candidate for the Democrats allowed a law to come into place in Minnesota with almost no limits and no age restrictions on abortions. That's insane. Yeah. That's absolutely insane.
Well, and the other thing too, if this really matters, how in the world do you get reelected? The carjacking is up 163% in Minnesota. 163%.
Yeah.
Murders are up 50%. I'm going to pick him as my vice president.
Right.
Are you crazy? Something else is going on.
People are fleeing Minnesota like California and New York and other states, not only because of the rising crime, but the state achievement levels have fallen since he's been there. Per capita domestic product has fallen since he's been there. I mean, this is they're trying to paint him as this moderate, this Democratic moderate, but he's as progressively liberal as they come.
They've lost some red level, some prime businesses that have moved out to Texas and Florida, and more are moving every single day.
And think about real quick. Think about what he did not only during the riots but during COVID. During COVID, he basically shut down the state of Minnesota, banned churches, banned individuals from going to church because he was scared to death of COVID. For 15 months, he ruled as a dictator. And this is the man the Democrats want to put as the number 2 in this country? That is crazy.
I don't know if you've heard it. We played it yesterday. I'm not going to play it again this morning. But the snitch audio, have you not heard
No,
the snitch audio?
I don't know if I have.
Well, just for you, I'm going to have to bring it back up and play it
Sorry.
again. But
I apologize to your audience in advance.
My God, it's Adolf Hitler type stuff that he instigated on. It's called the snitch line, and I'm bringing this back up just for the chairman of the Republican Party in the great state of Mississippi. If I can find this here now, but I do want to talk about the Act Blue. And the Act Blue is our topic of conversation right after I'm working hard, baby.
This is where he encouraged citizens to snitch on other citizens. Is that right?
Yeah. To snitch on other citizens.
Yeah, that's real. That builds unity and cohesiveness in our country. So.
Apparently, he thought it did, and I'll have to find it. And I'll have
that's
it for a second. It's happening in plain view, and we can't stop it. It's social media posts on voters in the streets, and they ask questions like, how many senators do we have? They have no idea. What's their term? We have no idea. All of these basic things about our country, nobody has any idea whatsoever.
And sadly, basic answers that any person who came to this country legally and passed the citizenship exam and was sworn in as a citizen could answer.
You should know. Absolutely, you should know. You're right. A Texas woman denies thousands of Act Blue donations. There's no way I made all of those donations, said Barbara Staples of Spring, Texas. Shocked to learn Act Blue listed her as making 1,600 donations, totaling $13,000, including 53 transactions in a single day. They are making illegal donations to the Harris-Walz campaign, and it's violating everything we know about campaign laws. Gerda Henderson faced similar issues. $33,000 in unauthorized donations over 484 days. Despite only approving a few dollars, she had to close her credit card due to fraudulent charges and stop it all, cancel it all out. Unlike most other fundraising platforms, Act Blue does not require a CVV number of transactions. When asked if she's approved all of the transactions, she said no. OMG contacted the Montgomery County Sheriff's Office to comment on whether they're conducting a criminal investigation. They issued a statement saying it appears that both donors made voluntary contributions through Act Blue.
Wow. Yeah, the question I would have is where's the FBI? Where's the DOJ? I mean, that's something that, if Act Blue doesn't return those donations to those credit cards immediately, there's some real questions that should be being asked by our federal law enforcement.
You ready for this?
Hello, you have reached the Department of Public Safety stay-at-home hotline. The information you leave is considered public information. At the tone, please leave the following information: your name, your callback number, how the stay-at-home order is being violated, and where the stay-at-home order was violated.
Wow.
Thank you.
Record your message at the tone. When you are finished, hang up or press pound for more options.
I think I would check this guy's body for a swastika tattoo.
Did he put bounties out? Did he put rewards for that? That's incredible.
Final segment's coming up next. Hang on.
When elected president, I'm prepared to take executive action and put in place a ban on the importation of assault weapons into our country. We still have to deal with over 2 million assault weapons that are currently in the streets of America.
Wake up, people!
Gallo, SuperTalk, Mississippi.
The textbooks in world history in Russia, to their students, they teach them that the Democratic voter in the election was voter fraud, and that President Donald Trump actually won, but because of that they lost. They teach that in Russian history now. Okay, here we go. Your final thoughts, sir.
Well, the clip that you played on the intro there about banning guns, I mean, this is something that we need to, as Republicans, really tout, because not only does San Francisco, California, Kamala Harris want to ban guns, but Tim Walz, Minnesota governor, wants to ban guns. Did you see that clip where he says, we need to ban, weapons of war, including that I carried in war, war. This man is trying to do anything he can to attain power, even going to the extent of lying about the fact that he was never in war. He never carried a weapon in war.
By the way, we have rules, and I'm not sure if there's another little caveat that needs to be activated before that is taken to court by somebody, but that's a year in prison, stolen valor. That is a federal law that when you do that and you use it for your personal gain, there is a penalty of a fine and a year in prison. And he's done it. When he said, like the weapons I carried in war, he was never in war. As far as I know, at the Italian dinery or cafe that he was eating out when he was in Italy, he was. I don't think he was shooting the chef.
No, I don't think so. And it's. I think it's very instructive that when people called him on saying he was a retired command sergeant major, when people called him on that, the Harris campaign had to go back and change the bio that they put out for him. That tells you all you need to know.
Yes.
That tells you all you need to know.
That's not the only thing. I think they've changed several other things on Wikipedia. It's no longer there. They're changing that on a daily basis. By the way,
there's no guarantee to free speech on misinformation or hate speech, and especially around our democracy.
Whoa, Governor! What do you mean? Because as a matter of fact, who's the final arbiter of what you think is hate speech?
There's no guarantee to free speech on misinformation or hate speech, and especially around our democracy.
Well, Paul, it makes me think that if the people of this country elect Harris Walz as president and vice president come November, we're going back to the Biden administration where they are trying to impose an office of disinformation and regulate people's speech in this country. They don't care about the First Amendment. Yeah. They don't care about the Second Amendment. They don't care about any of the amendments. As long as they can say or do whatever they can to retain and gain power, that's what they're going to do.
And I think they understand how injurious this is to the Constitution and to the future, even of their own kids. But and I hate to say this, and I know sometimes we have some good Democrat friends out there, and they don't like to be associated with this, but you have a national party right now that is it. It's almost like an MS-13 gang. You die. It's not about your mother. It's not about your brother. It's not about Christ. It's not about anything else. Number one is the blood, the gang, and that's the way it is with the Democrat Party.
Yeah, and
power above anything else.
And as Republicans, we need to focus on not the person. Frankly, I don't care who they put as the Democratic presidential nominee or the vice president, because we as Republicans need to focus on competence, policy, and results. Because at the end of the day, American public will see that right now as we sit here in August of 2024, those three things have not been occurring in the last 3.5 years. And if we go back to the Trump White House in 2016 to 2020, you see that our economy was better, the crime was down, We were building a wall, and we actually had a secure border. We actually, as U.S. Attorney, we actually enforced immigration laws in this country. But we have not seen that in the past 3.5 years.
When you look at where she was not that long ago, just ridicule. And she was being ridiculed by a lot of people in mainstream media.
Yeah, she never won a Democratic primary.
Yeah, they were jumping all over her as just she's got to go, man. And then overnight, the switch flipped. She's the most wonderful thing in the world, and she's got the crowds and everything else.
Again, because the Democrats were desperate. They knew they could not win with Biden, and they also knew because their focus on gender identity, they could not overpass the sitting vice president.
It's also scary how easily some people can be manipulated. That's a little scary.
That's right.
What also is scary is that when you look at picking Walz as the guy, nothing makes sense other than they're so sure they're going to win. That didn't even figure into it.
As Republicans, that is the best gift that they could give us, is picking another extreme liberal as vice presidential candidate.
Go get them.
We will.
Thank you, Mike.
Thanks, Paul. Good to see you.
The former U.S. Attorney General, and also GOP chairman. Back with more coming up next.